Hi guys, now that you've gained a fair amount of idea on what the SVM algorithm is and how to work on it, we will now be employing all the techniques, practices and knowledge that we have gained in this video series and work on creating a machine learning model with a dataset using the SVM algorithm. Our SVM expert, Mr. Utsav Agarwal, is here to explain to you how it is done.
So these are all the features here: mean radius, mean texture, that has already been extracted from the image. So texture, radius, perimeter, area, smoothness. If you have some knowledge in the healthcare part, you will understand that all these this texture talks about the texture of the cell. So this is all the points that are collected from the cell. So this is the cell radius, the cell texture, perimeter, and all these points. So what I'm going to do is I've drawn a pair plot here, basically to visualize all the features with respect to one another. Here, mean radius with the target, then mean texture with the target, and all these I have visualized. So if you want to go deeper, just if you want to summarize this, I'm not going to explain you each and every image here, but you can see there are some linearly separable dependencies is possible. Some linear separable data set, it is kind of a linear separable. So if you want to linearly separate this particular thing, where mean radius and the target, you are able to draw the line. So this is what I visualize here, that so that you get a feel that SVM can be applied in such scenarios. So there will be scenarios where you will not see SVM a very good case, like if you're trying to draw, like here, this mean symmetry is not a very good feature for the SVM, as these 2 points are overlapping for mean symmetry. So all these things, noise is also there. You are able to understand from the data set itself, from visualization part. So count plot, basically to see how many zeros and ones are there. So zeros are the, I have declared here. So zeros are the malign and one is the zeros are the malignant and one are the benign. It's just one scatter plot between mean smoothness and the mean area. So this is the smoothness. This is talking about the smoothness and area of the cells. A correlation heat map. So if we are not going to analyze all these features, but if you see here, it's a scale from -1 to +1. So at the down you will see -1, at the top you will see +1. So if you see, all the very highly negatively correlated features will be very dark, just like this point -0.78, and all the light, very light features will be close to 1. Again, it is high correlation but positive correlation. So you are able to see that we are able to understand from this correlation heat map which features are important for this SVM, for our modeling part. So worst radius, worst perimeter, worst area, but we have to analyze it with respect to the target. So this is where we have to see. So if you can see that there are only very handful of features which does not have good correlation with the target, just like 0.0065, 0.067, 0.0083 means and mean symmetry. Just like we have visualized it, this mean symmetry with target, and I showed you that how it is overlapping on the target. What's the advantage and disadvantage of SVM over other algorithms? So SVM generally is used for classification, and it is able to classify if the data set is the linear, shows the linear dependencies. Okay, and if the data set have non-linear dependencies in multi-dimensional space, SVM will not work good. But if you are trying to apply a non-linear model, just like let's say you are trying to apply gradient boosting model on linear data sets, or anything like, let's say, decision trees on linear data set, that's where SVM will perform better because the data set is linear. Have I answered your question, Venkateshan? So you are asking, again, you're asking when do we need to choose SVM? You need to choose SVM where if you visualize the data, you are able to see there are linear, the variables have linear dependencies on the target. If your features don't have linear dependencies, you can go for other modeling techniques. So are you able to understand this correlation heat map? What I meant by this correlation heat map is, in beginning, this is like in first go you must draw. So if you are getting any data set, this should be your primary thing to draw a correlation heat map so that you are able to understand what features are impacting your target. This can be with respect to a classification problem or even a regression problem. Ganesh is saying, can we use linear regression in this case? Yes, Ganesh, you can definitely use linear regression in this case. So again, if you want to know, is linear regression better than SVM or SVM is better than linear regression, I would say that in most of the cases, linear regression performs better than SVM. But again, it's not no free lunch here. You have to, again, different data sets can show different variations with respect to their performance, but it will be very comparable performance when the data set is linear. In which case SVM is good. Linear regression, is the name suggests, it is a regression. Okay, and SVM, as I'm from the beginning itself, I'm giving you the example with respect to the classification problems. So when you are trying to solve classification problems and it shows linear dependency, go for SVM. When you are trying to go for regression problems, then go for the linear regression. Though linear regression also have classification in it, right? Logistic regression is also kind of an improvised version of linear regression to do classification, but I think SVM performs better. And there's another pros and cons of SVM that we can discuss right now is the time. So if your data set is big, let's say right now in this scenario, we can see that we only have 569 data points, right? But if your data set is big, let's say your data set is having 5 million data points or 1 lakh data points, at that point of time, SVM is going to take a lot of time to train. So after this session, what I want you to do is download this data set from sklearn and just run on this, and then take a bigger data set and then run SVM. You will find out that SVM is taking a lot of time. So generally SVM takes around 10 times more time than linear regression models. Yeah, notebooks can be shared with you. That's not a problem. Okay, I will ask the host of this group meeting to share the notebook. I'll share with you all. Okay, let's move ahead. Now what is happening here is we are dropping the target variable from the features and assigning the target to features. If you know basics of data preparation, what I am doing is I am taking features in one variable and target in another variable, and you can see the shape of the features. Now my features are 30 and one I have target variable which have zeros and ones. If I run this and if you want to print this y, you can see it is composed of zeros and ones. So now I am importing a few things here for the matrix part, accuracy score, confusion matrix. So we are primarily going to discuss accuracy score and confusion matrix. And if we have discussed confusion matrix, that would have covered precision score and recall score. But primarily my focus would be on the accuracy and the confusion matrix to to like to evaluate what kind of model we have created and how it is performing on our data set. Now, another part, when you get the data set and you have separated the data set on your features and your target, then the next step is to split the data set. And why do you split the data set? So that validation. Now when you split the data set, you will have two kinds of data. One is the training data and another is the testing data. And this part you can also call as validation data, because this you will use to validate, because you know, let's say you have 569 data points here. Like, I know most of you will be knowing this part, but like for those who are new or beginners, let's say you have 569 data points, and based on 10% split, what I have is 56 points as testing data. Now you know that you know the target of these 56 points. You know that how these 56 data points, what is the target? Either it is 0 or it is 1. So when you learn your data set on the rest of the model, when you learn your model on rest of the data set, which is 569 minus 56 is 513. So when you learn your model on this 513 data points, then you can evaluate it based on this 56 unseen data points. So this is important because your data can, your model can also overfit. So at that point of time, your testing data shows the reality of your model. I hope no questions are from here. So that's what I'm doing here. So you can simply simply import this train test split from sklearn models. And if I now show you the shape, you'll see that based on 30% split for the test size, I have 30% data points in. X underscore train, it is X underscore test. All right, you can see that in X underscore test, we'll have the 30% of the data points that we will use to evaluate the model. Now let's come to these three parts. One is the C parameter, then gamma, and the degree parameter. So degree is the polynomial parameter, polynomial thing that we have just discussed. So if you give degree is equals to, let's say 5, 6 or 7, it will try to calculate that optimal fit or optimal slab based on that degree. If your degree you will give is equals to 1, it will be in the 2-dimensional scale. Whole thing, all the features, yeah. And if the degree is equals to 2, then again 3-dimensional scale, and degrees is equals to 3 again, so and so on. This gamma, just now we have discussed this gamma thing. So basically how far you want to influence your influence of those fences or at the optimal line based on your data points. So again, I told you, right, large gamma will be the close reach and small gamma will be the far reach. So again, this thing is based on your data set. So here I am taking degree is equals to 2. You can experiment. So SVM also have hyperparameters. So this C is used for regularization. Okay, so this is the regularization parameter. So basically, if it how regularization works is, if there is a if there is a overfitting or the model is not performing good, it will penalize the model. And if model is performing good on your testing data or on your training while learning your training data, it will give more rewards. That way it will try to like draw a better decision boundary. So basic how regularization works. Now what we are going to do, you can import the SVM. Here I've imported in the SVC as support vector classifier, short form of SVC, and then this train and the labels. And you know that we have 369 points in train, and we have again 369 targets in labels. And then when you try to fit the data set, this print score functions above I have created to show you the complete information at one go. So you can see in training part, it is giving accuracy of 95%. Okay, so basically by 95%, it means that it is able to clearly identify 95% of ones, which is benign. Then precision recall score, I will come to this in a while. Let's discuss the little bit about confusion matrix. So this is the confusion matrix, and this is, so do you everybody knows about confusion matrix here, or shall I give you a brief introduction about confusion matrix first? Okay, I will give a brief about confusion matrix. So first what we are going to do, this is 140, 115 and 242, right? I think my sensitivity is too high, so I should probably work on that. Yeah, this should work now. Yeah. So guys, this confusion matrix is very relevant in today's scenario also. As you all know that we are all dealing with the global pandemic COVID-19, and again how this all thing is getting evaluated, how test kits are evaluated is based on this confusion matrix. So let me just quickly replicate these four things: 140, 115 and 242. Okay, so 140 are the true positives. What do you mean by true positives? These are those samples. So let me just set the context. One is benign, and two is and zero is malignant. Now 140 samples were those which were benign, and we are correctly able to identify that these samples are benign. So basically our model, that SVM model that we created, it is correctly able to classify these 140 samples as 140 samples that were benign as benign. Now what is true negative? These are those data points which were malignant, okay, but are able to but our model is telling that it is not malignant but it is benign. You are able to understand? So if I give you an example of COVID case, this true positive, let's say we have these figures for the COVID case. This 140 people are there which are tested positive, and those are also COVID positive. Okay, now this 11 people are there who are tested positive but are COVID negative. That means they have not contracted the virus. I hope I'm giving the best example with the current scenario and you are able to relate it. Now, false positive. False positive are those which are, okay, first let's come to the false negatives. Okay, false negatives are those which are negative and we are able to correctly classify as negative, right? Anybody knows if I'm doing wrong here? Because confusion matrix, that's why its name goes, it confuses a lot. Okay, so then we have false positives. So what is the false positive case? We have 5 cases there which in this scenario were identified as false. That means which were ideally 0, but then they were identified as 1. Are you able to understand it? Guys, if you have confusion here, just let me know. True negatives are those points which were identified as 1 but were actually zeros. Okay, 1 and then 0. So true negatives are those points which are identified as 1 but actually zeros, and false positives are those data points which were actually 0 but are identified as 1. Sorry, which were actually ones but identified as zeros. I am also confused here, so just excuse me for a second. Let me get it clear first of all on my hand, but I think I've explained it simply. I'll give. If anybody knows better, then just let me know here in the chats. Okay, then let me move ahead. I can hear some noise in the background. Anybody wants to say something? Okay, now we have the confusion matrix of the testing data, where we have like what we have saw here. We saw 171 data points, right? And again, how it is performing on that data set, it matters, right? So 60, 1, 2, and 108 true positives. So true positives and false negatives. This is what we want, right? We don't want this. That means either malignant to be identified as benign or benign to be identified as malignant. So that's what you can see, that we have very less cases here. So that can uh, you can analyze that. That's why SVM is going to give good results. SVM is actually giving good results on this data set, right? And you can see the accuracy score, it is 98%. And here what we have used is a linear kernel. By linear kernel, it means that we are not going to go for just like I showed you how radial works. Radial draw takes another variable z and draws an hyper imaginary z axis and compare and draw with respect to that. Okay, now we have polynomial kernel. So I'll not go details of how SVM is performing. Degree is equals to 2, I've explained. Polynomial means when you have degree included. So earlier you saw that we didn't have any degree. All right, now we have degree is equals to 2 and gamma is equals to auto. Gamma is equals to auto means gamma will be automatically selected by the kernel. Okay, optimal gamma. So it cannot be optimal, but it will be the default gamma which it takes for you can also give it a value between 0 and 1. It can, if you have some knowledge, but we actually in daily life we don't know much about this gamma. We cannot infer much from this gamma. So what we do is either we give auto or we use grid search, which is like hyperparameter tuning of kernels, SVM kernels, to get this optimal gamma. So again, same thing, fitting the model and then seeing the accuracy. As you can see, it is taking a little bit of time right now. Once I run this, that's why I told you it's a little negative point about SVMs, that it take a little bit of time. Though you can see that there are only 500 and something 369 data points here. Yeah. So now again, you can see that we don't have any false negative here, false positive here, but we have true negative here. So true negative means again the same thing, which means like in COVID scenario, I told you that a person has tested positive, but he was negative. Then accuracy thing, if you see, it is accuracy on the test results had is a drop over the previous one. So earlier accuracy was 98%. Now you can see that accuracy has dropped to 97%. What might be the reason is, it might be the reason that we have not given optimal hyperparameters. So maybe if we give good hyperparameters, we are able to perform good over linear SVM. That we will see when we will do grid search. Now again the radial SVM, what you have to do, you have to assign kernel is equals to RBF. RBF stands for radial function, radial base function, and here gamma is equals to 1 means I'm maximizing the gamma. And if I run this, so it is not performing good on the data set. As you can see that accuracy score on the test data is 64%. So why I have shown all three kinds of SVM on this data set is because initially I showed you that all points are majorly having linear dependency on our target variable. That's why I told you that linear models, linear SVM will work better. Now if you apply radial SVM, it is kind of a non-linear SVM, right? And it will not perform good on this data set. That's why it is giving some accuracy, but it is not as great as what linear models could give. Now let's see the hyperparameter tuning. So what I have done here, what you can do here. So if you don't know much about like these parameters, what gamma to choose or what kernel to choose, what should be optimal value of C for the regularization. So what you can do is you can import grid search from sklearn model selection, and you can assign some values to it. So I can assign, like, I have taken 6 values here, and in gamma also I have taken some values, and in kernel there can be only 3 possible values. So grid search will apply every combination here, and that's what will happen here. So what it is going to take is, it is going to take a lot of time for to give me the optimal parameters. So if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have C as 6. Then how many gamma we have? 7 gamma, 6 into 7, and then 3. 6 into 7 into 3. So how many times my model will get fit. There can be 6 into 7 into 3 possible combinations that will be applied in the grid search, and then optimal parameters will come out at the end. So my kernel is already running. So what I can do, 6 into 7, 42, and 42 into 3, 126. So let it run. And before that, I would like to take some questions from your end. So guys, if you have questions, just quickly let me know, because running this grid search will take time. As you can see, one iteration of this polynomial kernel SVM took around 30 seconds. So if you have 142 samples or 142 different iterations to run, then it might take even, you can do the mathematics. Okay. So guys, I'm also on LinkedIn with my name Utsav Agarwal. You can contact me there if you are not able to get this notebook. Okay. And if you don't have questions from this session, I would be happy to take it. One question is there: if kernel is polynomial, the visualization will go greater than 3D. It can be able to visualize in more than 3 forms, but it is not possible to visualize more than 3 forms by human eyes. All right. As you can see, we are surrounded. How many dimensions do you live in? 3 dimensions, right? So how can you visualize anything more than 3 dimensions? It's not possible. So even if our machines are able to calculate the values, but we won't be able to visualize that. Never. Any other question? Okay guys, let me then it will keep on running. So that's why we'll have to conclude the session, because it might take 1 hour to get my optimal parameters. But again, I will try to explain this. Okay, degree is the dimensions. Heather, just don't complex it. Degree is the number of dimensions. Okay, you give the degree, it will calculate the values in that many dimensions. So that's it from my side, guys. Thank you all for joining today, and see you in the next episode of this session. And before that, you can also log into Virgio website to get to know more about the courses that I have discussed a little bit. Thank you all for joining. That's all from my side.